Hey, good morning, everybody. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about, do you need to have a servicing company when you buy a note? That's
Yeah.
the answer.
Yeah. Do you have to have a servicing company?
Yeah. Real quick, defining servicing company. Servicing company is you have a note, and they service your note.
It's basically
thus
like,
making them a company.
right. It's basically like you have a rental property and you've got a property management company for this. A servicing company is like your property management company for your mortgage note.
It's been a minute, but in property management, it's typically like 10%, right?
Correct.
In note servicing, what is their take? Is it a percentage or is it a flat fee?
Typically, it's a flat fee. It's usually between $20 and $40 a month.
Per note?
Per note.
That's nothing.
It is. And the best part about it is if you set it up from the beginning, your borrower will pay it.
So yet again, that's just another one of those, hey, what's the difference between doing property manage or owning rentals and owning notes is
there's no cost to have it managed for you if set up correctly.
Yeah, because property management, obviously, 10%.
Yeah.
Plus the toilets and doors and ACs,
maintenance and all of that. But when you're investing in mortgage notes, you've got your note servicing company that's taking care of it. All you're getting is a direct deposit of your profit. And they take care of escrows, all of that. You know, so the answer is, do you have to use a note servicing company? No, you really don't. But I have never understood why anybody would go, oh, I want to do it myself.
That seems extremely short-sighted. Oh, I'll do it myself. Why?
Well, in my case, when I was starting out doing this, 12 years ago, I thought I needed to do everything. Or at least do it and learn how to do it so that then I could hire somebody to do it and I would know if they were doing a good job.
That's that giant argument of being an entrepreneur, being a real estate investor, is do what you're good at and focus on the high paying jobs.
Yeah.
Like something like that, obviously if it's only costing $20, $40 per month.
Even if you have to pay for it yourself, you want to have note servicing.
But how much time would that take you to do it? If that's not...
Okay, if you do it correctly, you're still talking, if you've got one note, maybe a couple hours a month.
Right.
But I make more than $20 or $40 or even $50 an hour.
But you're gonna
my hourly rate's more than that.
But you still have to learn how to do it first.
Oh, and I can tell you right now.
And all the paperwork and all the lawyering and all that crap.
I can tell you right now, I've never seen somebody who wasn't a licensed third party doing it legally and correctly.
But not only that is, well, that proves my point there. But if there ever is litigation or mediation or any other kind of ation from the lawyering world, like, are you a lawyer now too?
Exactly. If you get sued, are you going into court without a lawyer? Some people do.
So it goes back to, what is your job? Is your job to make money and make more notes, get more notes, sell more notes, or is your job to learn everything? And I want to be this. I want to be an investor. I want to go to the cocktail tables and tell everybody that I know everything there is A to Z about note investing.
Exactly.
Or I don't know shit. I just know how to close a deal.
Well, it's so for everybody out there originating notes, what I like to tell people to do, and here's a takeaway moment from this: put it into your deed of trust that your borrower is required to pay note servicing. Just stick it in the deed of trust. That way it's signed, it's notarized, you agreed to this, $30 a month charge. And most of them are like 30 or 35 bucks on average.
The servicing.
The servicing. Plus then if you do that at the time of closing, you get all the loan setup documents there. They sign all the loan setup documents at closing. You can get them to sign ACH. Because my loan servicer, they will let them use a credit card and pay online on their website. They will do ACH where they direct, withdrawal every month on the same day.
Accounting alone.
Yeah.
The
accounting,
I know you have all these bullet points that on the screen up here to go through, but I'm just like, wait, we're talking about 30, 40 bucks?
Yeah, 30 or 40 bucks a month. And people are like, oh, that's a lot of money.
Well,
yeah, but it's like, why, you're not missing out on anything. If you are requiring your borrower to pay it, it's a drop in the bucket.
Well, and not only that, so say it's an owner finance note.
Well, yeah, that's what we're talking about here.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm thinking notes because there's in the note world you have. Let me clarify. When I think owner finance note, I think I bought a house, I've rehabbed it, or maybe I didn't rehab it, but just put a new roof on it,
Yeah.
and then sold it to a new family, and that's owner financing. I understand at the end of the day, if you're the owner, that's by definition owner financing. But in my mind, there's like this mental wall between that and hey, I bought an NPL from a bank.
Right.
Like that's more.
So
That's that's a real
I bought
note.
this non-performing
Yeah,
mortgage.
yeah. So you see what my difference being in
Right.
my head. I get that it's all owner finance.
And the crazy thing is everybody's like, well, what if they're not paying loan servicing and I buy this non-performing note? Can I make them pay loan servicing after? Yeah, because you're modifying that note. You're modifying that agreement.
But the point I was trying to make though is, even if you're on your note, you're only making $200 per month on the short term.
Right.
Yeah, $20 to $40 servicing
But that's
is
it, but if
expensive
you're-
at that moment in time.
I get it. But that's you as the lender. What I'm saying is
Get them to pay for it.
get your borrower to pay for it. You're still making $200 a month. When we're talking about note servicing, make sure go get a note servicer. If it's not already, if you're buying a non-performing note or non-performing mortgage, you can adjust that to make sure that they are paying their note servicing fees. When do you want to do this? You want to do this before you close so that your borrower also pays the $150 setup fee. And everybody's like, well, but down payments are finite. Are you tall enough?
I think so.
I feel really big.
I know.
I feel really
Nothing
tall.
says Happy New Year than like breaking a stool on your first show back. You're like, oh, get your life together, you fat ass.
It's all right.
Well, actually, we're
I
like the
still
same
love you.
height now.
I know, it's good, right?
I'll just
It's
have
really
to
good.
posture. Anyway, what were we
So,
talking about?
anyways, we're talking about note servicing. So, when do you want to do this? You want to set it up at closing, at the closing on that owner finance note, because then you can, have them pay the $150 setup as well. People don't realize how regulated this industry is since going to, at pre or post Dodd-Frank.
Yeah.
And there have always been banking regulations. Crazy thing is, there are note servicing laws, and those change they can change every year, but they change often.
Yeah.
And so if you're not up to date, I'm not up to date. That's why I have my note servicer
Yeah.
that takes care of all that
So
stuff.
again, and not only is it, hey, it's not that expensive. You don't have to learn anything new on the
costs you
short
nothing.
term, but on the long term, it's their job to stay ahead of it. It's kind of like last night. Another reason I'm so just other than whatever is I was up here till 3 doing accounting, and QuickBooks for like 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so it's super fun.
Since 2020 days.
Yeah.
That's when I was using not actual 2020, but the company 2020. So that was like 4 or 5 years ago that I was using QuickBooks on the regular. Well, QuickBooks now is a completely different site, and I was never an accountant, but it's a good point. It's like, yeah, there's so much more to the site now.
I inevitably, it's going to be a debit,
Right.
and then I'll put it all in, and I'll hit refresh, and I'm like, no, that was a credit, and so I'll go highlight and switch everything over.
Well, I don't even know where the refresh button is anymore yet. But my point is not to talk about QuickBooks. My point is to say that, hey, here's the thing that I was fairly, I could hold my own 5 years ago, but I haven't touched it in 5 years. So therefore, now I'm completely fish out of water. So same thing with the note world is, I used to service my own notes 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago. Well, fast forward today, you don't know, are you going to reread all the laws? Are you going to reread everything?
So you are required by law to keep up to date a payment spreadsheet that shows the date they paid, what they paid, how much they paid, what percentage went to interest, what percentage went to principal, were there any late fees, how much were in escrow. If you're collecting those escrows, you have to keep them in a special savings account. You cannot just keep them in your business account and treat them as income. And the amount of investors who I know who do that
And then on the flip side of that is what's the consequences of doing that?
Oh,
Fines, losing the house.
Yes. Oh,
Fines
it's
and
bad.
losing the house.
It's bad. And so let's say, all of this comes into play, especially when you get to go foreclose on them. So you go in front of a judge and you don't have everything perfect, they're going to cite you for, predatory lending, unfair banking practices,
Right.
which part of that, like let's say, if you're not following all of the rules and regulations to doing this, they can make you pay back the down payment and every dollar paid in interest.
So
Not principal, but
yet
if you're just
another
starting
reason-
out,
Another
yeah.
reason why you should definitely do it yourself. But going back to not going back, but the QuickBooks analogy is actually perfect because going back to if you're servicing your own thing and you're using spreadsheets and you're using, I'm staying within this cookie cutter lines. Well, you're not taking advantage of all the fancy, the cool softwares that are out there specifically for that
Yes.
world.
And if you're
No
not
servicing.
using one of those softwares, you're doing it wrong. And the software, and then you have to stay up with it every week sometimes.
Well, that's the point. Because so say you do, I know what the software is. You get the software, and then it's like, oh, well, crap. Now I have to learn a new software.
Right. But the software is like
On top of knowing what the hell's
right.
going on.
The software is $50,000.
Well, I don't know about you, but that's Tuesday.
I would much rather, spend $30, which would be $360 a year instead of $50,000.
Right.
And when you're, and people are like, oh yeah, but you just buy it once. Really? You buy software just once? When have you ever bought, there's always the upgrade that you have to buy in order to get it to still make it work.
And then on top of that, you've got my favorite topic, which is the three letters. Starts with an I and ends with an RS.
Oh yes, the IRS.
So I think a big common mistake investors, regardless of strategy, make at the very beginning is, well, I'll take care of that later. I'll figure that once I'm successful, I'll figure it out.
Right.
Well, that means the foundations are poor. And then by the time you get to it, it's just like, and then so there's
well, we're here in January, right?
right.
And so this week is when all of these lenders and servicers need to be sending out their IRS tax statements. Okay, well that's not free. That's not free
Right.
if you're going to do one through the IRS.
So, but there's two components that I wasn't even referring to. I was referring to as the individual IRS implications. You're actually talking about the IRS for your borrowers as well.
Sure, because
So-
you've got to report. You've got to report how much
Yeah.
interest they paid in the last 12 months, so
So-
that they can pull that from their taxes.
But the point being is, so that's yet another hat you would have to have or wear and stay on top of. And yeah, if I'm a brand new investor,
probably
I
do-
don't have anything. IRS, come get me, whatever. Well, fast forward 5 to 8 years, 10 years, whatever, and then you've got this empire. Well, guess what? They're going to start coming after you because you got the money.
Right. No, absolutely. So if you are, it has never, anytime I still see investors doing it, did I do it? I did. And I learned the hard way. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not doing this right. I
Yeah.
can't handle it. It's a big pain in the ass. Let me move this.
Right.
So then I tried like 5 different nationwide note servicers, and I settled on the one that I loved and transferred everything to that servicer.
So there's a common theme that we've been talking about, which is staying up to the rules, staying up to knowing what technologies out there, staying up to just keeping the dot in the I's, cross the T's on the spreadsheets alone. But for $30, $40 a month on service, and just disclaimer, neither Kristin or myself are
Note servicers.
note servicers. So it's not like, hey, join our team.
Yeah,
for
no.
Dota. We are going to say that for learning notes, but hey, whatever.
Hey,
regardless.
and seriously, if you want to know who I recommend, awesome. Stick it, put
Comment, yeah.
put a question in the comments, and I'll go back and answer that and tell you who I recommend.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. But yeah, no, I don't get any money for sending business to
So-
them. I just love them.
But real quick, going through the summary, because we've talked about, the hassle of it, the skill of the actual knowing what you're doing, then the skill of using the software, then the actual fee of using the software, then the IRS implications of knowing what's going on there, the office administrative work of going in and out of paperwork every single month, and then keeping a prize of your spreadsheets and keeping a separate bank account. So it's and we're still only halfway through your list.
Right. Or you could just go pay 30 or 40 bucks a month
Yeah.
and have somebody else do it for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So yes, you can do this yourself, but I don't know why. For the
You only
cost of
learn.
$150 to set up a mortgage and 35 bucks a month, which is, what I pay.
Right.
And the most important one we're getting to, because as I like to buy notes, if you are servicing your own mortgage, I will not pay as much for it.
Is that you or is that industry?
That is industry. That's industry, but I won't do it.
Is it because, is it similar to the RMLO, which is basically saying your paper is trash because you did it, therefore it's not, there's no credibility there?
It's partly that.
Okay.
So I have been defrauded twice. Not once,
Not in
but
a good
twice.
way.
Not in a good way. I've been defrauded because they gave me some fake payment report.
Yeah.
So I like to know that it's somebody who's licensed, that's third party, that has nothing to do with that lender or that borrower.
Right.
Because I know that everything that they're sending me on that sheet is 100% legit, legal.
Right.
And they can't produce that report. They're not going to risk their license to do it.
Yeah, for
So
one note.
that's one. The other one is the cost of servicing, because they never set it up from the beginning. Okay, well, that's $35 a month. That's $35 less profit that I make per month to set it up with loan servicing. Well, that's automatically, depending on, the note, but likely going to take around 3% off my offer.
Which is a lot.
Which is a lot, sometimes more. What if it's
Well-
a smaller note?
Well, you got to think in terms of, because when the note game, it's very much so a quantity game.
Yes.
So 3% of a wholesale deal or a one transaction, no big deal. Let's get the deal done. Let's move forward.
Right.
But 3% of something when you're talking about the margins are a little bit tight.
So exactly.
It's a lot.
So if I'm offering 90%, which is high, and I know that what I offer is probably better than somebody else is going to find. But if I offer 90% and they come to me and they're servicing it themselves, okay, well, the best I would do on that note would be 87%. And again, a lot of that depends on how high that unpaid principal balance is, right? Because 3% of 200,000 is, a lot more than, say, 3% of 100,000 or 50,000. So
that
a
how
lot
math
of,
works?
well, again, if the cost is $35, I need to look at what that's doing to my yield.
Well, and again, circling back to, and I think we talked about a little bit in the beginning, which is just the emotional capital of not dealing with that, the emotional strain of having to deal with that, because all of this is the easy button, hit it, forget it, move on, because it's, if correct me if I'm wrong, it's one of those situations where all of a sudden this week you got either a deposit or a check from your servicer for an initial $20,000 because somebody paid off their mortgage, or somebody got a loan, not a loan mod,
A refinance?
Refinance, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's all, happy bonus money.
right.
So and that just comes out of nowhere. It's like the magic fairy dust.
Well, and I love that when it happens. But, one of the rules of loan servicing is you need to be able to produce immediately the mortgage payment history on that note.
Because if they're trying to sell it, or if they're trying to get that's refinance
Right? Because
it.
we got to know specifically to the penny what that unpaid principal balance is.
I didn't even think about that, because how many times as an investor have you been out there and you've requested payoff and it takes forever, and you're like, why the hell? But it never takes forever for like the big guys.
No.
But like for the small, you're like, what's going on? And then immediately you're thinking, oh, this guy's trying to screw me over.
Yeah.
And
Or
so that has nothing to do with the seller. It's the
so you've got, so then you've got like a bank, that's trying to get a payoff, and they can't even do a payoff because they have no idea what the accounting is. And so they can't produce a mortgage payment history. They can't produce a payoff statement. Whereas if you're dealing with third-party licensed note servicer, boom.
So I have a question for you, and I think I know the answer, but hopefully you're going to play along. So if I'm just going to assume, okay, I have a note with you, I owe you money, whatever, and then I don't pay, and you're servicing this situation, and you want to stick it to me. You're like, you know what, you messed up. I'm going to report you. Do you know how to report me, and who to report me to?
Are you or me?
Me, because I'm the borrower.
Um,
I'm sure you know how to, but in this situation.
in this situation, unfortunately, everybody has access to Google.
Oh, that's true.
So I would love to say to all of the deadbeat lenders out there who might be a little bit predatory, who are thinking that they're going to get away with something like that.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, I'm the borrower,
Right.
and I can't pay. I'll just help you along.
Okay.
Do you know how to report somebody to ding their credit?
Okay, so that is another interesting. That's another interesting
That's
thing.
what I'm saying, is
when
like-
you have to. Okay, one, you have to be
The
in.
light bulb.
You have to be in business as a licensed note servicer and have like a brick and mortar office
Right.
for a number of years before you are approved to report credit. So if you are doing this by yourself,
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
you cannot report credit.
Right. So my point to that is, even if you did have a brick and mortar and you did that, it would take years to even just have the capability of doing that. But yet, that is yet one more thing you would have to learn
In the state of Texas,
on something that's rare.
I think it's one, maybe
rare.
two note servicers have the capability of reporting credit and report to credit.
Okay. And is that a big enough stick to keep people in check?
You know, that's
Because
another.
we're dealing with owner finance.
Honestly,
world.
it's another reason to use a note servicer because yes, they know that they're being reported to credit for on-time good payment behavior, which is just skyrocketing their credit. If I don't pay, then my credit is going to go way down. You know, it's so if they care at all, if they're trying to refinance, if they're trying to do other things, they found, oh my gosh, look at all these great things that are happening to me because my credit's so high. You know, they might care.
So basically, what I'm hearing is, if I'm self-servicing, I'm not reporting anybody because I'm not a brick and mortar experienced person. I can threaten it, but there's nothing's gonna.
There's nothing
no
that
teeth.
can. There's no teeth there.
What about payment? So, like, as a small business owner, you know, I can pay people. I can pay them cash. I can pay them with a check. I can pay them with Cash App. I can pay them with Venmo. I can pay them with love. Like-
My note servicer allows payments made from Walmart. I mean,
I don't even know what that means.
I didn't either. I didn't even know it was a thing. But they, like, the borrower goes to a Walmart with a big wad of cash, gives it to the Walmart checkout people there, and then they pay their mortgage with it.
Was there like a SKU that Walmart?
I don't know. I don't know how that works.
You just know it works.
I just know that they're like, oh, they're going to the Walmart to make their payment. Okay, cool. I'm
What
like,
did you get for Christmas? I got $600 in gift cards. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna pay rent,
I'm
or I'm
gonna
gonna pay a mortgage.
pay my mortgage.
Not
So
really,
no,
yeah.
it's cool. You know, there's a lot. There are so many advantages to using it.
Well, what's interesting is, like, as in a small business, when I was kind of going through that list of how to pay, that's how I can pay money out. But as a small business receiving, it's almost like a nightmare, because it's like, well, because you can set up a merchant account and they're gonna rake you over the coals.
Right.
I mean, hell, look at like OnlyFans. OnlyFans. If I set up an OnlyFans account, I know, right? They're taking their 20%. If you know, which is huge. If I do an event with Eventbrite, they're taking their 10, 3, 5%. PayPal, they're taking their 30%. Everybody's taking huge, massive amount of merchant fees.
I know.
You know, and that's on top of setting something up. So, like, the reason I'm getting this is, like, receiving money, even though you're always going to find a way to get your money, but get your money and track it into your system seems a lot more complicated than just
I don't
giving
even.
cash.
I mean, I
You
just
don't care.
I just forward my statements to my accountant and my bookkeeper. And,
Right.
you know, at the end of the year, I get this nice little report going, you made this much interest. Oh, here's what your portfolio is doing. Here's your yield.
And quite frankly, you could probably even put your accountant's email into your notes on your account with your servers. Be like, hey, don't even email me. Email straight to
Yeah.
the accountant.
Yeah.
And leave me out of it.
Yeah.
Or CC me, because you never want to be left out of it. That's what Wesley Snipes, you know, you don't want to be sniped, go to jail for IRS taxes and whatnot. I think we not that. What other notes are there? You know, we talked about that earlier, but if you wanted to sell the note.
Yeah.
Have
If
them
you want
pay
to
for
sell
it.
the note, your note is much more valuable.
Yeah.
Just because of yield, right? Because note buyers buy on yield. And so if they need to have a 10 or 12% yield on that purchase, okay, great. Then the face of a note is 10, and you're like, oh, all right, I score. You know, I can get 95% or whatever, but you're servicing it yourself.
Yeah.
So take off a bunch of percentage points.
So in a lot of ways, to sum up this entire video, to me it's very similar to like in the transaction world of real estate, which is no, always get a title company. Because there's some people that like don't use title company, and you're like, how is that even possible? Or not getting property insurance. Like, what are you doing? Just those are industry standards. So I think in the note world, just don't even think about self-servicing because of all this massive list of things that we just rambled off on a random Wednesday morning. You know, so it's like it's not an ego thing, it's a money thing. And if the amount of time, because the amount of hours that would go, obviously it's not all month, it's just maybe a couple days out of the month that you have to do all this stuff together. But
That's if you have one.
right.
Let's say you.
I'm just talking
I
about
mean,
one.
you have 10, and they all come in.
The scalability of it. If
On
you have
different
one,
weeks.
the benefit of having a note servicer for 1,000 is far outweighs
I can't even
one.
imagine.
That being said, the one is so high that why would you even do it even if you have one note?
Right.
That's
Right.
the best we get.
Right.
Because you got to think again, your time, your value of your own time is $40 a month plus all that other hassle, the time that takes to learn about it. Da, da, da. Even if you're fascinated and you want to learn about it, just learn about it, but have somebody else do the work.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing with media stuff, but literally probably 2 hours a day, I'm learning marketing, I'm learning cameras, I'm learning all this. But I don't assume to know more than like Daisy or Sekou or people on the team.
No, and and people are like, and I do credit transferring all of my notes that I was servicing or were serviced around the country at different places to my current note servicer back in 2012. I mean, that's how long I've been using them. And I credit that as one of my best business decisions ever because it took me out of that mindset that I have to be a control freak. In this business, you want to make sure, stay in your lane. I know we always say this, right? Stay in your lane, do what you're good at. If your job is, within your little group of investors is, hey, I'm the one who finds the properties, or I'm the one who runs the rehab, or I'm the one who finds the owner finance buyers. Okay, well, if you're a single person, it might just be finding the deals. That means you're paying somebody to rehab it. You're paying realtors to go find you a buyer.
So, random question. So I have this, half my notes are at my go-to servicer. And then I come into a large pool, but they're already being currently serviced with this other company in a different state that I don't really have relationships, but they have good ratings on Yelp.
So it's an internal question, and I know exactly
Do
what you're.
you
Yeah.
keep it in place, or do you pull everything under one house just to not deal with it?
So I love my note servicer. I do. And I really want everything in one place. That being said, if I bought a pool of 20 notes and they're all out of state, all over the nation, and maybe they're serviced by somebody like Madison or something like that, I'd probably leave them there. Mm-hmm. And I would only move them if I saw serious issues going on, or possibly, I wasn't getting the service that I get from my current note servicer, right? But I'm not going to rush out and change servicing on that.
Because if you keep it the same servicer, and you're buying from another investor, would the borrower, would they get an email? Would they get a letter saying, "Hey, you have a new owner"? Or if it stays in the same servicer? Because I know if it goes to a new servicer, like, because I bought my partner and I, we bought a sub 2 years ago, and it was perfect timing because we bought it sub 2, and there's plenty of content on the internet to know what that means, but we bought it sub 2, and then we're like, okay, cool, and then literally within like less than a month, we got a letter saying, oh, by the way, the servicer on this note had changed to somebody else, and they gave us the borrower
60 days.
Like a 60-day, a transition period. So we were like, oh, cool, we have a sub 2 that we can fully rehab this house and not have to make a mortgage payment because it's in that transition. The point I'm trying to make, though, is if you keep it at the same servicer, do they even know that the owner's changed?
No.
So therefore...
Not always, right? You're going to get a letter saying, if they read the whole thing, right? So they've got to read the paragraph that says your loan has been sold to somebody else. But it will say that you are continuing to make your payments to us.
And nothing changes.
And nothing changes.
There's no, hey, you don't get a 60-day stoppage or anything like that.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you when your servicer is servicing it, no.
Yeah.
You know, that, because it just doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, they don't care who's getting, the principal and interest off of that mortgage.
So to me, it's kind of like, and I love my analogies. You're going down the freeway, and then you can either keep going on the freeway at 100 miles an hour, or get off the freeway, go to the gas station, change the engine at a gas station, because that's what
you do.
Yeah, and then get back on the freeway.
Right.
But if you get back on the freeway, well, maybe that engine's not firing.
How's this analogy working out?
I don't know.
Where are you going with that
What
one?
I'm getting is like, if somebody is already, if you've already got somebody trained to go this direction at this pace, and then you stop them, there's no guarantee you can get them back on that direction.
I don't know how you teach new investors that they need to do one thing that they're good at and stay there, and don't go do anything else. Because the amount of people I've talked to, and you've talked to, this. They're like, oh, I can do that myself. I can do that myself. And I'm just like, no, you can't.
Right.
And it takes, I had to learn the hard way on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and then I know earlier I said about accounting, oh, you should get somebody else to do it, but it's like, but I'm also a small business that has no money.
And that also is the thing.
Yeah.
I did QuickBooks for a decade.
So you have to pick your battles. Like if it's something like $24, that's easy. But if we're talking about, a full-on, hey, you're paying somebody, that's a different story altogether.
Right.
So.
Right.
Anyway, any final notes on this other than I think we literally killed that horse.
I think so too. So, yes, you can service your own notes, but don't do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
There's I don't see the benefit. It should be free to you if it's set up that way from the beginning. If you have to pay $35 a month, so be it. Just make sure and figure that into your cost when buying the note.
Excellent. So 2021 is the year of note buying.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Because, new election, or not an election, but new president, new chaos, coming off a pandemic. There's going to be so much turmoil out there that no one knows what the hell's going on. So therefore, you should be in groups where you could pool your brains together, pull your experiences together, and try to wade through these muddy waters, not alone, but in an experienced group. So we mainly Kristin, we have the Passing Notes group, and that is a monthly mastermind / training / course /
it's
note
also
pool.
weekly.
Oh, yeah, that's a monthly group, monthly paid group. But a weekly group where you have access to Kristin, coaching calls. We already have well over 30 modules that we're actually going to break those down probably into 150 modules, because those modules now are more like, some are 30 minutes, some are an hour and a half. So, we need to tighten that ship up, but all those are already available. So if you go to passingnotesgroup.com, you can get all the information, and you can shoot me a DM. Hit me up on Instagram, Ryan S. Harper. Love to help you. That's me, Ryan S. Harper, right there.
Yeah, and come out and join the group. The goal of the group is not only to learn how to do this, how to buy, how to find, buy, work out non-performing notes, but how to invest in performing notes, how to originate and create your own notes. And we even talk about other things because I love Airbnbs. So, you know, we do little talks about Airbnbs, or just what are you thinking about buying? What is, you know, basically they say, hey, I've got this opportunity to buy this piece of real estate. I look at it and go, awesome. All right, what's the best course of action? What should you be doing with
And
this?
it's currently January 2021 right now. So if you're watching this in 6 months, a year from now, if you go to PasadenaNotesGroup.com, we may actually have like courses broken down to where you can just buy standalone courses. Right now, it's just, hey, join the group for a monthly fee. You stay in the group and you stay with all the training. But in the future, we are planning on having those where, hey, you don't have to join anything. You just buy the course outright, or certain different courses, and you know, boom, there's the course. So if you're watching 6 months, a year from now, and you don't want to be a part of a guru program, that's fine. Go there anyway and check
Well,
out the
and
course.
I'm trying to keep it less of a guru program and more complete mentorship. And then, you know, my goal is to have
Question.
my goal is to have like 50 millionaire note investors in this group, because I want us to be a buying consortium.
Absolutely.
And that's where the real power comes in, where, yeah, okay, like I got 25 notes, 25 notes, non-performers.